As we look at the part numbers in column A in this worksheet called FINDMID, it's possible that these numbers have a scheme to them. Maybe the first two characters refer to the location where the product was made. Maybe some of the characters refer to the color, possibly the time that one is made, something like that. There are times when we want to work with data at the character level. There are a number of functions categorized as text functions. So on the Formulas tab, we'll click the drop arrow here. And the one we're about to use here is one called find. Here's the description of it. Returns the starting position of one text string within another text string. Find is case sensitive. Sounds a little arcane, perhaps. Let's say that what we'd like to do in this example here is to see if the letter G exists. Now, we can obviously see that in some of the cases, but imagine the list is huge. Now, maybe we're going to be changing that. Maybe we want to pull out the G, make a difference here. Let's just start with a simple idea. We're trying to find out if it exists. Equal find, left parenthesis. We're looking for what? Within double quotes, G. Now, the find function is case sensitive, so this will find a capital G if it's there. But if you look in row 6, for example, that's a lowercase g. We'll not find that one. Where are we looking for this? We're looking within cell A2. Now, there could be times in more complex situations where you don't necessarily want to start looking from the left edge. You might want to start from the third character or the fourth character. So there's a lot of flexibility in this function. In this example here, we simply want to start on the left edge, so we don't need to put in a third argument. And the answer we're going to get here, if found, will be the character position. If not, we'll get an answer like we're about to get here. Value. But by double-clicking the lower right-hand corner, we do see where the G is found, and it's found in the second position there and the second position there. Note that it isn't found here, nor anywhere else. Now, based on that information, sometimes what you would want to say is, well, once we've found it, once we know that location, we might want to pull data out of there starting at that location. And so a variation on this could be to use the mid function. Think of middle. Before we do that, though, let's point out a variation on find. If we want to be able to find a G, whether it's upper or lower case, we can use a different function called search. And I'll make the change there and then recopy it. And the difference, of course, is now we'll see something different in row 6. We found the G there. Now again, whether we put in upper or lower case makes no difference if we use the search function, because it'll find either variation on that. So sometimes that's the more relevant function. Now, if we go back to the idea that when we do find a G, we want to pull out some data from there, we could use the mid function. I think that's maybe a little bit obscure, but as we look at column C, what if we wanted to pull out the state code? Now, the state, of course, appears in different locations here depending upon the city name. What we do know is that the city names are terminated by a comma. Just for a moment here, let me mention, for those of you who have worked with data like this, if you really want to split the data into city, state, zip, there's a great tool in the Data tab where you can use the feature called text to columns. We don't really need that here, although it's certainly an appropriate feature. Let's just pull out the state. Now, we're going to do this based on the fact that we can find where the comma is located. Remember, find. What are we looking for? Within double quotes, a comma. And where are we looking? We're looking in cell C2. And we'll simply complete that function. It's in the 8th position. You can see that. Now, the state name starts 2 characters later. So let's introduce the function called mid. Think of the word middle, although not necessarily literally. Mid allows us to look inside of a cell, say C2, comma, and then start at a certain position. Remember, find told us that the comma was in the 8th position, so we want to use that information plus 2. In other words, we want to start at the 10th position. And if you count the characters from the left, B-O-U-L-D-E-R, comma, space, that's 9 characters. We want to start in the 10th position, comma, and how many characters do we want to pull out here? Just the state code, that's 2 characters. So we're using find along with mid, and then enter, and we get our answer here. And this should work for all the other entries as well. Double click. So it's not uncommon to use these functions together, although certainly you can use them independently of each other as well. The mid function, the find function, and you can begin to see how with certain kinds of data, for extracting portions of the data or locating portions of the data, these two functions work together beautifully.